Peace and all good things. I hope that you're having a wonderful day. Every January 1st, the Pope always has a World Day of Prayer for Peace. I think that we really need peace in our society. And really, how can we really be instruments of God's peace in our world today? And I just wanted to share with you a quick reflection, a quick quote from the Pope's message from this past World Day of Peace, which really struck me and can really be a moment of reflection for us today, where the Pope writes, "Some people attempt to flee from reality, taking refuge in their own little world. Others react to it with destructive violence. Yet between selfish indifference and violent protest, there is another possible option, that of dialogue. Dialogue between generations." I think that so oftentimes, I know in my life, can oftentimes we can be indifferent to the challenges in which we're facing in our world today, the differences that we have between people, the social injustices which are plaguing our society today. Be indifferent to those parts of the world that really need love, that we can really be instruments of God's peace and goodness and love where it needs it the most. And oftentimes, as we see in our society today, we perhaps see on the news, we can oftentimes see how people oftentimes resort to violence, whether that be physical violence or sometimes in a much more subtle way, by what we say, the attitudes that we have toward others, that can really be violence in a certain sense, and we are not instruments of God's peace. And really the Pope calls us today to that of dialogue. How can we grow in our lives to be men and women of dialogue, of listening to others who may be different than us, of being attentive and empathetic toward those who may have a difference of opinion than we do, to be instruments of God's peace by actually sitting down and sharing with other people our struggles, listening and helping other people who may just need someone to listen to. That in these moments in which we want to be indifferent, or that we may want to resort to some sort of violence, that we can somehow have a moment of dialogue, a moment of encounter. This is really such an example of Jesus, St. Francis, and so many of the other saints, in which they encountered other people. They saw the presence of God in other people. They saw the Holy Spirit working in their encounter with others. How can we be peacemakers in our lives, instruments of God's peace, men and women of true dialogue? And in that way, we perhaps can make our world a more peaceful place.